Surprisingly, the Crow reboot bombed hard. Welcome to SciTrek, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. As you know, on this channel, we try to stay a little bit positive. But I have to question a studio that decided it was a good idea to reboot The Crow. Now, whether you love the Crow movie, the original with Brandon Lee, or not, I think anybody with any common sense really should know this was always going to be a difficult movie to remake for a couple of reasons. One, it's a very 1990s kind of film. It's very dark, it's very sort of gritty and stuff, and well, the storyline felt a bit old-fashioned in some ways. I think just from a story point of view, it was always going to be difficult to reboot. But obviously, the main reason is that Brandon Lee died making this film. And this film would have sent Brandon Lee to the next level. Now, he'd done a couple of quite dodgy movies before that. He did a film with Dolph Lundgren. I forget what it's called, and I'm not going to Google it to find out because it's one of the worst films I've ever made. And Brandon Lee generally had one of the worst lines in that movie. And I will give a big shout out to anybody that remembers the film I'm talking about and can actually tell me what the line is. It's a bit rude, it's a bit embarrassing, and it generally made me cringe when watching it. But Brandon Lee didn't just have a famous name, he actually was a very talented young man, and he was starting to make good films. It does feel a little bit like Heath Ledger when he passed away not long after the Batman movie where he played the Joker, that this film really would have sent him to the next level. I actually think Heath Ledger would have been sent to the stratosphere. I don't think Brandon Lee would have quite reached those levels, but The Crow would have made Brandon Lee a A-minus list actor, something like that. So him passing away really did put this movie into sort of a very cult status. It has a cult following and a cult love. Also, the way that he died obviously sort of mirrored some of the things with his dad, Bruce, mysterious death, etc. So again, it had this legendary status. For me, any executive that looked at that and then thought that would be perfect for a remake wasn't actually looking at the movie or looking at the fans that like the movie. They just looked at how often this film was rewatched, how often it was talked about. They just looked at sort of that metadata. They looked at this film and thought, this film still makes a bit of money. Let's remake it. Then we'll make more money. Money, 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 money. They didn't seemingly think it through. Now, whether this is a good film or not, I've not seen it, and to be honest, I'm not going to. Doesn't really matter. Whether the casting's good or not doesn't really matter. I have to admit, though, I saw the trailer and it did not fill me with any excitement. Will I watch it in 6 months' time with this on Netflix? Maybe. But I will still feel the same way, even if I really enjoy the movie. And the way I feel is this should never have been made in the first place. I actually don't love remakes, ever. I think they are, to say the least, dodgy. I think if a film is good enough in the first place, it should live forever. But I will add a caveat to that. Sometimes remakes can be great, and the right sort of project, they can make sense. What sort of project? Well, if a film has been ruined by sequels, sometimes that can work. If a film's initial premise was flawed in some way, that can work. Or if, a film really needed a more special effects or something and actually a more CGI-laden version of a modern film can add something to the movie, then fine. I have one movie in mind that actually is getting a remake and I'm very excited about, and that's Highlander, because really it ticks all three of those boxes. It was definitely ruined by sequels. Oh, like very few movies ever have been. I mean, it definitely actually had a flaw in the initial movie, in that there can be only one and it ended with only one and didn't give them anywhere else to go following that. So it should have been a standalone movie. It should have been a classic. It should never have been touched since, really. So I'm hoping, and let's be honest, the producers that are producing the Highlander movie aren't stupid enough to not give this anywhere to go, because the word franchise just tickles their brains on all levels nowadays. So they won't do that again. They might say there will be only one repeatedly, but the film will not end with the quickening and him getting all the godlike powers. It just won't happen. There'll be the opportunity for there to be more than only one. And finally, the special effects. I actually think this is a film with modern special effects that could be quite cool. It won't take anything away from the original for me, partly because of the music. Queen did a bang-up job. Also, the guy that played the Kurgan, sorry, I can't remember his name either off the top of my head, it was fantastic. Mom, I just love that scene. And it was just brilliant all the way through. And you got Christopher Lambert, who actually also played a brilliant character. I have concerns about the new Highlander. I actually think Henry Cavill, who I adore in everything, I adored him in Superman. I even liked him in Batman vs Superman. And the movie he just did on Gentlemanly Warfare, just fantastic, and he's great in it. So, yeah. I do have concerns, though, in that the whole point of, like, Christopher Lambert, a skinny little guy, against the Kurgan, who are they going to get that is significantly bigger than Henry Cavill? I don't know. You could argue that Henry Cavill should be playing the Kurgan, but I don't think they'll do that. It's a movie that I can understand why there's a remake. The Crow doesn't have any of those points. I would argue that the story was dated anyway, and the film is dated. The premise is quite dated. Doesn't need a remake. It fit the time frame. It fit when it was made. It doesn't really fit a modern audience, so shouldn't be remade. And actually, on the whole, the special effects aren't bad, or at very least, they fit the movie. So, on almost every level, it doesn't make any sense why they would remake this film. Except, of course, for the money, 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 money. Now, I like money. I don't blame you if you like money. But they've lost a crap load of it on this film because they didn't think it through. And to be honest, it's their own fault. And on just a personal level, I wish this film had never been made. I think it's a complete waste of effort that it was made. And it'll never take away anything from the original for me. But when I want to watch The Crow, I'll watch the original with Brandon Lee. But guys, get into the comments. Have you actually seen this film? Are you the one person that did go to the cinema to watch it? Is it any good? Am I being unfair? Is it a good film? And is it, a film that maybe adds something to the story? If it does, I'll put my hand up and say so. But I can't imagine how. But get into the comments and tell me. Or do you actually agree with me that this film should never have been allowed to be made in the first place? It sort of takes something away from the memory of Brandon in some ways. And actually, a film like this that actually has an emotional attachment for a lot of people, it was just a bad idea to begin with. But get into the comments and tell me what you think. If you're new to the channel, like, subscribe, do all those internety things, but also go over to patreon.com/SciTrek, where you'll get to see most of our videos first and quicker than everybody else on YouTube. So go check that out. Please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.